Hello and welcome everyone to our review of episode 1 of Krypton. Woo!
Oh yeah, the pilot episode, baby.
So we're going to give our quick review of Krypton. Spoilers, the first episode here. Spoilers coming in. We're not going to do any non-spoiler versions of this shit. Pretty much you've seen this episode, especially by now, because we're way late on this. So if you haven't seen it by now, I just don't think you're going to watch it.
But people could be anticipating our review of it. Probably not, but I'm just saying.
Well, guess what? Your anticipation is going to be nothing but spoilers. So
yeah, exactly. There you go.
Anyway, so something I didn't even realize until I saw somebody bitching about this on Instagram with Krypton is that actually Rotten Tomatoes does TV as well, and they'll actually rate a TV show as well. And currently, right now, Krypton sits at a 58% with critics and 81% with the audience. Now, the funny thing is, apparently the critics actually have access to the whole season. Apparently, they're privy to the whole season, and there's only 31 critics that have reviewed this, and we got 18 fresh, 13 rotten. And basically they consist of good or bad. They talk a little bit about the future possible episodes and how the pacing works and everything. I'm not going to really read any, but the pull quotes are yeah. That's how you know that they've reviewed the whole season, which I thought was funny. And to continue the fact that Rotten Tomatoes and the critics are so disconnected from the fan base of these shows, they actually have Black Lightning as like, oh, go check this out too, because it's the same shit. The critics have given Black Lightning 97%, and the audience score is 53.
Wow. That sounds way too familiar for Rotten Tomatoes, unfortunately.
I feel like at some point someone's going to have to realize that they are just not connecting anymore. There's becoming a huge separation between audience and critics more and more on films.
Yeah, and apparently in TV shows as well. It's mind-boggling. I think the unfortunate thing is when you do get ones that are a little bit closer, like a Civil War, just to throw out there, then that's when people are like, see, look, Rotten Tomatoes is great, but then largely it's just irrelevant. And it's funny when you see different pages and stuff on Instagram post comparisons of like all of these great movies like Forrest Gump getting shit scores, and then like to bag on MCU a little bit, an MCU movie getting like in the 90s, or in this case an TV show in the 90s. So it's crazy the disconnect, and what Rotten Tomatoes, the critics that they've polled to do these are just eating up. It blows my mind.
It continues to be what it is. It is what it is. So let's get into the episode now. Spoilers and all. I'll let Shane go first since he's the Superman aficionado on the show.
All right. Sounds good. No pressure. I'm going to start off with some of the things that I actually enjoyed about the episode. I'm not going to go into too much detail because, as Matt said, you probably have seen the episode, so I'm not going to explain what it's about. We're not doing a non-spoiler. But some of the things that I really did enjoy, the Genesis Chamber seems to be a consistent piece, from the Man of Steel universe to this TV show. So I thought that was pretty cool that they incorporated it. So again, a disappointment is the fact that it's not connected to the DC movie universe. They're just kind of loosely cherry picking, I guess, which becomes evident with one of my cons. But I thought that was pretty cool, and they elaborate on it a little bit. They also have Seg and I forget the Zod chick's name, but they're having sex. So in the first episode,
Litazod.
Okay, yeah.
Lita, like Litazod.
Right.
Litazod?
Yeah, Lita. For
your wrestling fans. I was trying not to say that.
Yeah. No, I think it is Lita. I think you might be right on that. But so, they in one episode they kind of show intentionally, in my opinion, this is the Genesis Chamber is going to be carried over into this show. Which Matt and I really wanted them to delve into a little bit, and answered a very important question that Matt has posed a couple times, is do they fuck? And
do they fuck for fun or what? Is there a Krypton condom? I really want to know.
Yeah. So we didn't get the Krypton condom part. That might be in the unrated version of the show.
Maybe we'll see a rapper someday just float by.
Yeah, there we go. They have their own version of like Magnum, like Seg. Damn. That a
Man,
kid.
You're going big, huh? Yeah. Go big or go home, huh?
Yeah, I'm just assuming. But I thought those things were pretty cool. I did like how they have the two different classes, and they're almost like polar opposites. You have a world that you could tell is a little bit more weathered. It's later in the life of Krypton. Not super close, it's still a couple generations removed from it ultimately blowing up. It's getting there. It's getting to that point, and in that you have the two different. You have the ranked society, I think is what they considered, and then
they kept calling it rank. Yep.
Yeah, and then the non-ranked society. So I thought that concept that they briefly touched on was explored well. I'm interested to see kind of how that continues. I also liked kind of the religious undertone of the class people who live a kind of I guess it was interesting. It was like an above ground, below ground almost is kind of how I was perceiving it. But the people who live on that are the upper echelon, they follow this one guy. You're essentially being a traitor if you go against this this one, I guess, higher power being that is embodied. It's not even like a god. It's a living god to them, and to say that other aliens or something else is out there other than Kryptonians, you're a traitor for saying that. So I thought that that kind of stuff that they touched on was pretty cool.
So my notes basically start out with the first half of this. I actually timed it at the 27-minute mark. For the first 27 minutes of this TV show with the commercials and everything, holy fuck. This is probably the most, it started off as the most generic, formulaic way to establish characters I have ever seen.
Absolutely, yeah.
It was just so, I was like, oh, come on, man. Really? This is what you're doing? You guys didn't really try on this first episode, did you? At first, this is what I was thinking. Okay, the main guy, Sag-El, he's got to have a bar fight to show how tough he is. Oh, look how cunning he is. He tricks these guys into making money. He's a hustler, yo. And he's got a cool buddy. Oh, but he's tied in with the higher end with the Lita Zod. Oh, look, it's like Romeo and Juliet. Look at that. Their family's separated by rank and shit like that.
Capulets and Montagues or whatever.
Wow. And then, of course, for some reason, the guy to redeem the family, or at least redeem him in some manner, he stops an assassination. Oh, there's a bomb, and it's in the guy's arm, and it takes a really long time to explode.
Right.
And really, all you have to do is just shoot the arm, apparently. Like, normally, if you shoot a bomb, it blows up. But apparently, if you just shoot the dude's arm off, you could just stop the bomb.
That's it, yeah.
Fuck, you might as well just shot him in the head. So I was a little like, this is ridiculous. And then the Darien Vex, the guy that's playing Darien Vex, this like lead counselor or whatever he is, he was just like, wow, talk about a generic character. Like the first half of this was very, very like, no, don't do this to me. But it definitely did pick up at the halfway point. Halfway through, we finally get some shit going. This is when they start talking about the artificial population control, and this is where they have who's the woman, the other Vex? Who's the other Vex here? The daughter of Darien Vex. I don't know where her name is. Anyway,
I can't remember. I'm
looking at IMDb and I just don't see it. Anyway, she must die pretty soon or something, because she ain't even on this thing. Spoiler, maybe.
Yeah.
She actually had an interesting quote, and I like this. She's like, "Can you believe our ancestors actually carried children in their womb?"
Right.
And like, she's talking about like how disgusting it is or something like that. But then as soon as they just press their thumbs on this little thing, they get basically the blueprint of their kid, what he's going to accomplish, everything he's ever going to do, and how long he's going to live. And then she's like, oh, the maternity love, I feel. Like, she makes fun of the system after making fun of the original way of having sex or producing children. And she's like, the maternal love I feel right now. I'm like, bitch, make up your goddamn mind. Do you want to be fat or not? Make up your mind. It was just, but then it does eventually definitely kick up. I love the bubble we saw over Kandor. I was like, oh, and before it kind of got revealed at the end, I was like, holy shit, is this already the process of bottling Kandor? Like, are we already seeing it in process? I was like, oh, this is, it's already building up. It's got a lot of lore in it, and I'm like, this is much better. The Adam Strange character is strange.
Yes. Great way to put it. Yeah.
I don't know anything about Adam Strange. He apparently is in the comics. He's part of the Justice League. And
I know a little, but not much.
Okay. Well, then that's more than me.
Yeah.
But, and he just has a Sunstone crystal.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're going to explain all this later on. And then he has a cape with an S on it, which I thought was interesting. I think
that was in my notes as well.
I guess it's Ralph's Superman that we're worried about losing, because it sure in the fuck isn't Henry's.
Right.
Because I think Ralph was the last one to have S on the back of his cape. Unless the Supergirl Superman has it. I don't know. I've never paid attention enough to notice that.
Yeah, so. I don't think he does, but there's a possibility.
So he's here to save the Brandon Routh version of Superman.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'll go ahead and get into some of my negatives as well. You're segueing perfectly into this. There was a lot of, I agree, the first half of the movie is very generic, and I was like,
show.
Yeah, very it felt like a generic sci-fi show, like very science fiction-esque. You could almost like remove any link to Superman, rename some of the characters in the city, and it would just be another sci-fi TV show. Like, that's how it kind of came across. And there were definitely some positive parts to it, but there were also just there were some corny parts, and I hope they elaborate a little bit more. But the whole Superman's cape thing, I thought it was just very cheesy and convenient that all of a sudden it's wilting away like it's Beauty and the Beast or something. Like, oh, you have you have this much time, but before this, and here's the symbol of it gonna, of how much time. So that's gonna play a part, obviously. Of like how much time over the seasons, or however much of like how much the cape is wilting away. So that was a little corny. The fact that if you look at Man of Steel, even the glowing tin foil of Marlon Brando in the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, the emblem, the house emblem, is like embedded into whatever the clothing they're wearing. Well, in this, to have the over the top,
it's a Boy Scout patch.
Yeah, exactly. They all have it. They all have this little Boy Scout patch barely on there, just to have the over the top generic. Let me rip it off so that I'm symbolizing taking away your family's heritage. It's a little eye rolling. I'm like, okay, I can get past that. And then even though there's a link to some Man of Steel stuff in this, it felt, I'll give Goyer or whoever's doing the design, the set designs and stuff. I feel that this one is closer to, not perfect, but it's a lot closer to the Man of Steel version. And then, but they make sure, I think because it's more well known and more iconic, they tie in the classic Superman, John Williams Superman theme a couple times in this. So I was like, that kind of sucks. They are really just cherry picking what they want, and kind of just going with the show. It's not going to be linked really to anything. So, ultimately that's a disappointment in the fact that the classic Superman theme was used. You could clearly tell that they're like, okay, we're going to use that for the marketing. I think the symbol, is for the marketing. The cape is for the marketing, so that they can get viewers to watch it. And then they're going to take other things that Goyer has developed and all the time that he spent on Man of Steel. He's going to take those things, like the crystal is very similar to the key that it's put into the scout, or not the scout ship, the ship that basically sends Clark to or Kal-El to Earth. So they kind of utilize that. Some of the shapes, the fortress opens up very similar to the scout ship and for Man of Steel and stuff. So he's picking and choosing what he wants to use for this TV show. So it'll be kind of interesting. Those were just some of my nitpicks, but I definitely agree. It's for what I was thinking it was going to be. It started off a little like, okay, I'm going to give them a pass because it's episode 1. You have to establish certain things, and I guess no one can think of a better way to do it.
Exactly. I think what you said is pretty much dead on. They're cherry picking things, but I think they're doing this to also kind of reel people in a little bit. It's that thing where like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did it for so long, where they just keep using Hulk, Thor, and other characters and stuff like that to make sure you understand. So now they're going to bring in the Superman. The cape is obviously so you understand it's because if it was just a red thing, red cape, you'd be like, it's in a blanket or what is that? Like they have to have the S on there to make sure it's Superman's cape, even though that doesn't make sense with like the Man of Steel series at all.
Right.
But this definitely is cherry picking some ideas from each kind of genre. And hopefully, like I said, that second half got a little bit better. They start killing people. And man, the way they killed the grandpa, by the way, that's the most dick-headed way I've ever seen someone.
Right?
What happened to the Phantom Zone?
I know.
Just drop his old ass 200 feet into a frozen tundra or whatever.
Yeah, I thought that too. I was like, holy shit, man. Like, rather than just decapitate him, like, anything else, make it quick. But to fucking shove him off into, like you said, dropping into the frozen tundra, holy hell.
It was so far, he probably hit terminal velocity. Like, he was just fucking falling forever and just into this frozen wasteland. I don't know. The parents die. So hopefully now those little hinders will go away. We still have the Zod family line, which the daughter thing, I feel like that's going to slow this show down. I feel like they're going to really harp on that. But I would just want to see him and maybe that guy from the bar, his friend, kind of crack this code on what they need to do.
I agree.
Go after Brainiac and stuff. Hopefully that happens, but more than likely they're going to focus way too much on this Zod woman, the Lita Zod or whatever, because they're going to want to, they got to establish that relationship, and I don't know. So hopefully this will have a good mix. Hopefully they don't overdo it and drag out episodes because he's got a boner or something.
Right. Unfortunately, you have to have the love interest.
Yeah.
You have to have the love interest somehow incorporated. So we'll see how it goes. The one last thing that I did want to bring up on the downside of cherry picking that I hope I can get over, but it's sticking in my mind a lot, is the Zack Snyder quote where he talks about they had to, when they were developing Man of Steel, they had to pretend that they were pulling the comic books out and starting and making the movie for the first time. They're like, hey, we found these comic books under our bed. Yeah, let's make the movie for the first time. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. So they didn't want to use some of the classic things because that may confuse people. Then they think, oh, what is this tied to? That I could see. I don't know if that's going to be an issue. But that's the one sticking point for me where I'm like, damn, that sucks. Like, not only are they going to use things from Man of Steel that are really cool, like the Genesis Chamber and the crystal and the way that the fortress is, it's not going to be crystals and stuff like that. But then they're going to incorporate the classic theme, the bright red cape with the yellow S and just things like that. I hope I can get over that. We'll see. I'm intrigued though. I'm intrigued to see how the show goes for sure.
Yeah, one thing though, I do want to give a pretty solid positive for a sci-fi TV show. The CGI looked phenomenal.
Yeah,
I thought it looked
I agree.
on par. It looked better than Justice League. Like
low bar, but yes.
Apparently they had more time to work on it than Justice League did. And actually the Brainiac ship at the end, I thought looked fucking awesome.
Yeah,
and they were going through showing all the bottled cities and everything. I was like, see, this is what they need to focus on. I don't know how long they can drag out a Brainiac storyline, because it's like I never want Brainiac to go away, but at the same time I want them just to dive headfirst into this Brainiac story. So hopefully they can find a good pace to do it and make this feel right. Hopefully from this point it'll be good. Like I said, the second half of the episode I thought was much better and definitely picked up the pace.
Yep, I agree.
So let's give this episode a score. For some reason, Shane's gonna pull one out of his ass. I'll start first so he can give his ass a little bit more time.
Okay, yeah, a little bit of a little.
Yeah. Oh. Anyway, I'll give it a 2.8 out of 5 for right now.
You son of a bitch. I was ballparking in my mind like, okay, you know, I could probably come up with something less than a 3, higher than a 2.5, 2.8. So
exactly.
I agree. 2.8 is what I was thinking as well. Definitely, you know, enjoyed a little more than half of this. I'm intrigued, curious to see how it goes. Hopefully it doesn't fall off and become a drag and a chore to watch as some of the other TV shows have become, in my opinion. So we'll see how it goes.
I have a gut feeling this is going to take off, and they just needed to get the formulaic shit out of the way. All right, here's everybody. Now let's roll with the story. Hopefully that's how it ends.
I agree.
In case I don't see you,
good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. You're one of very few to make it to the end.
Yes, thank you very much.
Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Comic Movie Marks Podcast and hit the notification bell. You know, all these fucking YouTube channels say this shit, so I'm going to say it now.
Yes, it's perfect. And if you want to hear our full podcast, you can check out our podcast on iTunes or any other podcast subscription service.
Make sure you subscribe. Thanks again.